Welcome back to Chats with Jack. I am Jack Talcott. Damn, I blew that. And greetings, blessings, salutations, and love. Once again, welcome back to Chats with Jack. I am Jack Talcott here doing something different and yet the same. Holy cows, brothers and sisters. I had this all worked out in my head and then I forgot to add myself to the stage. But I'm having some fun tonight. And brothers and sisters, those of you who join in, I hope we're going to have some fun tonight. I've got a bunch of inspirations. I've got a bunch of ideas I want to share, but do me a favor. I know people are strolling in with the algorithm thing, but this right here, the standing, let's reach out to our brother Provo kid and let him know. See, he's not the only one who can stand and stream, dude. He wants to call it out and bring it on, challenge me to do something different. Well, here we go. Talcott Tuesday. We're doing something different, and yet it's still the same. So what are you going to do, Provo? I'm having fun. I'm not going to stay standing, though. But it is a little bit of a play. We can have some fun in life. And you know what? With this, I'm just going to go ahead and open it right up. I got a bunch of stuff. Oh, there we go. Now we're back to lazy old Jack again. But for those who are present, the link has been dropped. All are welcome to join. If you look in the description, I've got a few videos, some ideas that I wanted to share. I've mentioned some of them in the other live streams. Oh yeah, you know what? This Talcottian adventure, dude. I remember doing a live stream earlier today. So for those of you who were here for that too, thank you. Rock stars, dude, rocking on. But I haven't reviewed what happened yet. I got caught up in my mind. I got lost in absolute divine pleasure, heavenly pleasure, in massage. Treated myself to a meal. Holy cows, it was yummy. For those who are familiar, what's it called? Damn it. Tteokbokki. Korean tteokbokki noodles and some rice. Oh man, my belly's full. And then I had some like cashew based cheesecake, some sugary sweets and desserts for myself. Holy cows, man. Life is good when you really appreciate the little things, and there's a lot of little things in life to appreciate. At least that's what I've been learning for myself. It truly does feel good to be me. And also, since the last stream, for those who are paying attention, my old cat came downstairs and wanted to show me he's still around. He shared some time with me in love. And I have a feeling he's saying his goodbyes, But who knows? Who knows what the future's going to bring? Life is a mystery. And the real mysteries of life, they're beyond just what the physical see. The real mysteries of life takes us into the I'm missing the word, into the mystical aspects of life. into the spirit and sense of things. This is what I learned for myself, though, and it's supported. All of this stuff is supported by the Bible and by scripture about living the life with spirit. God is beyond the form, beyond the definitions, beyond the limits. God is that which breathes us. It's with us every moment of every being. It's that which, what were the words I was thinking of earlier? God is that through which we live, we move. It's through which all things are, is with God. It's the one. Um, and the one source of creation, that one intelligence of mind and heart, true love and true heart. It's within me, it's within you, it's within all of us. Hey, Rusty, thank you. There's people understand the love of a pet. Pets are friggin', they're a gift. Pets are a gift that we get to experience as a human species here on Earth. and people get the wildest pets, man. I watched on TikTok some wealthy dude in Abu Dhabi or wherever. Some wealthy dude has like pet lions, like real big lions. But, you know, sorry, that's way off track. I was going to pointing out people do care. He stopped eating about 3 weeks ago. But he loves ice water. I mean, I keep giving him ice water, and I think he meditates and watches it. I don't know what he's doing, but he's fascinated with ice and water. And this is what I learned, and this is why I think he came down today to share his farewells, because truly, he's not showing me suffering. He's showing me his strength and his love. Sorry, talking about poor Jack, uh, going through the helpless transition when someone we love, something we love is fading. I don't know. Life is a mystery. What I wanted to share today, and I started down this direction, in the description is some videos that I've found a lot of enjoyment with, that I kind of wanted to share some time and see if there's any discussion, what you guys think about this. I find this stuff to be very, very helpful, very inspiring, encouraging. I spoke about this video recently. And for those who aren't familiar, Marianne Williamson, she has, as I understand, and I haven't pulled up her bio or stuff recently, but as I understand, she's been like a spiritual teacher studying the science of spirituality and the different histories and religions for like 40 years. She's authored a number of books, and most recently, she's known for, she was a Democratic candidate for president, but right before the DNC, they kind of pushed her out of the way, and so she's no longer running for president. But this she did just release a new book titled "The Mystic Jesus," and I want to play a little bit of this interview. The guy interviewing her he's a pretty cool dude too, and all the info's in the description, and we'll pull it out here. But if you enjoy these things, what I found to be helpful for myself is trying to focus less on the traditions of religion, less on the traditions and less on the dogmas, less on the limitations of the different religions. And myself, I chose to explore. And what I found, truly, this video, she'll discuss it, or they discuss these things too, but excuse me, the prophets and the messengers that God created, the ones who religions were formed based on their teachings, the common denominator between all of these, it's love and compassion. Love and compassion are our true nature. And here, I'm going to play some of Marianne Williamson, and we'll see what you think. If anyone wants to join, the link is pinned, and I'll do that too, so it's available. But I want to play a few moments. This it's over an hour, but I'm not planning that over an hour. I think I've got about 15 minutes of this.
The ego, it's like drug addiction, it's like alcoholism.
She's starting out there right away, what she's talking about, the ego. It's like drug addiction. It's like, whoops.
People often say about the ego, it's like drug addiction, it's like alcoholism, in that its goal is not merely to inconvenience you. Its goal is to kill you. And the resurrection.
Ego's goal is to kill us. It's to keep us small. It's here. Let me not distract. Let me offer her.
Is the return to the right mind. Its expression in terms of addiction is recovery. Its expression is it's a healing of the mind. The resurrection is when you are lifted to the level of thinking that is beyond the crucifixion. The Course in Miracles says the Christ in you cannot be crucified. The personality can be harmed.
The Christ in you cannot be crucified. The personality is where we find our harms. And what she mentioned it, and I forgot to explain. She goes more in depth. A Course in Miracles. I've mentioned it before. I'm confident that many people who tune in would describe it as New Age, but what these concepts are, they're spiritual psychotherapy. The words of inspiration, of thoughts of love, of compassion, of forgiveness, of holiness, those words, they can transform the mind and heal the mind. And healing the ego, like she said, healing or resurrection, the resurrection of the Christ within you is when we regain clear thought. It's a beautiful design how we're created. I hope I didn't distract. I'm going to rewind just a second here.
Cannot. That is beyond the crucifixion. The Course in Miracles says the Christ in you cannot be crucified. The personality can be harmed. The Christ in you cannot be harmed. So if you're feeling harmed, it's because you are identifying with a false part of you. The Course in Miracles says enlightenment is a shift in self-perception from body identification to spirit identification.
Enlightenment is a shift in self-perception. That makes sense. Enlightenment is a shift in self-perception, changing your perception of you as being the thought processes and the body to realizing you're more than you.
body identification is a crucified state because we are always at the effect of the changes in the world, many of which are cruel.
Here. Hey, wonderful. We got a cool guest. Welcome, Isaac.
Hi.
Yes, this is here.
This looks cool.
Have you been tuned in long?
Not very long.
Okay. I wanted to look the opening intro there, the channel this was done on is Broader Lens Podcast. And I tell you what, after this interview, I'm a subscriber of his as well. So, Marianne, both of them, their links are in the description of the video if you guys want to check them out yourself. But welcome, brother.
Cheers. I'll listen in.
Wonderful.
Welcome to a Broader Lens podcast. The opinions expressed on your book. Maybe we could talk about what inspired you to write The Mystic Jesus.
Well, I've been a student of A Course in Miracles since the 1970s. And I've been for over 4 decades speaking about it, writing about it, and so forth. This is the first book I've written where the publisher came to me with the idea. My former editor at Harper, only former because he's not there any longer, said, we get a lot of questions from booksellers who say, we have questions from people who say they want a book about Jesus, but they don't necessarily want a book about Christianity. And so my former editor said, do you think maybe you'd be interested in that? Now, as a student of A Course in Miracles, you know the Course uses traditional Christian terms, including Jesus, but in very non-traditional ways. The Course is not a religion. There's no dogma. There's no doctrine. In that sense, Jesus is seen not so much as a religious figure, but as a spiritual force, not an exclusive way to God, but rather a universally available portal. But the Course.
Hey, Isaac, have you heard of A Course in Miracles by chance?
No.
I actually encourage people to investigate it, because what she's saying is it takes Jesus not so much as a dogma or a religion, but Jesus as a power, the power of love, of divine faith, of true connection to God. So, and as she said, I know it offends Christians to think about that, but Jesus is a path to know God. In my opinion, it's, from my education, it's the one that's intended for us, right? The perfected child of God. It's what the world deserves, man. The world deserves us all to be better. But I'd asked, and for those who aren't familiar, I'll pull up the link too for A Course in Miracles, but you can find it free online. There's actually a number of different instructors, and I have found a lot of inspiration from the exercises or the lessons in A Course in Miracles. I'm on a daily subscription where I get emails each day from someone.
Have you ever heard of YWAM?
Which one?
YWAM, Youth with a Mission?
No, I don't think I have.
Oh, it's just a global church school. They go around and do ministries overseas, and they have cool schools where you'll learn about a certain thing like surfing or whatever it might be. I did a surf school 6 months course, YWAM. And first we started out in Pismo Beach for 3 months, California, surfed and hiked out of faith and did lessons on top of mountains, and church school every morning at 9, and speakers and teachers. And it's just called Youth with a Mission. if anyone's looking for a ministry to join and travel the world with, it totally transformed me. I'll say I've kind of fallen away from that probably pure faith of a child since then, but it definitely changed my life. It was amazing. So it kind of sounded similar.
Sounds good. This is it's a book, but I learned of it. One of the local spiritual centers here in town had a weekly book study of A Course in Miracles, and so I learned of it a few years ago. And like I said, I found a lot of inspiration from it. And as with any source of information, the purpose is use your own discernment. You know, what doesn't fit you, let it go. But we don't need to dismiss ideas just because of our opinions of the source. I think that's where humanity's been falling short, to be honest. But yeah, I'll hop back to this.
Religious figure, but as a spiritual force, not an exclusive way to God, but rather a universally available portal. But the Course in Miracles says that there are others. So I thought it was a kind of daunting task. I mean, it's good. Hello. But I said, sure. I'd be, I don't know if I was grateful or honored. I don't know what it was, but I knew that I should say yes. And, I hope the book is of value to somebody.
Can you share the meaning of the mystic Jesus and how it's different from mainstream Christianity interpretations, if you don't mind?
Well, I'm a student of metaphysics. So meta is greater than physics, that which is bigger than the physical world. So in my life, I've always been fascinated by all the religions. I studied comparative religions and philosophies in college. I believe there's one truth with a capital T. It's spoken in many different ways, and many different religions, spiritual philosophies, and so forth. And what the Course in Miracles says is that it is a psychological mind training based on universal spiritual themes.
A psychological mind training based on universal spiritual themes. And I love what she said. There's one truth spoken many different ways.
I can hear that. Like a certain level of faith requires your mind to be able to like match it on some level. Like that's the only thing I got. Like if your mind isn't believing it, you can't really match it in faith unless I don't know. That's what I got. I don't know.
Well, the term, what was it she just said? The term of the psychotherapy based on universal spiritual truths, and the one truth being spoken many different ways. If you look into the different religions, there's the mystical aspects of them. And I think she talks about it if she hasn't already, but it comes down to the mind. Everything in our lives, the way we allow our mind to filter the information, that is the key to happiness or hell. So these religions are supposed to be ways to help us feel whole, feel complete, to have a balanced nature to us. But holy cows, man. Mankind is confused, are they not?
We've been lied to a lot and used for our hands and feet, to keep the world doing its thing. We've been programmed, yeah.
It's happened. Yes, there's been the past has been what it is, but each of us who are alive today, especially anyone gathered with here and now, I mean, please, for your own health and benefit, consider these ideas. There's truth to be found. there's universal spiritual laws that, regardless of religion, regardless of language, they apply to us. And she gets into more of the teaching here soon. So we'll get back to this.
Now, when you look into the esoteric tradition, a psychological mind training based on universal spiritual themes. Now, when you look into the esoteric traditions, the metaphysical traditions, there's the external ecclesiastic, organized institutional religions, which usually claim some sense of right to broker somebody's relationship with God. The mystical core of every great religious system, and they all have them. The mystical traditions in Judaism are the Kabbalah. The mystical traditions within Islam are Sufism. And there has always been the mystical, esoteric notions of Christianity. And I read a book many years ago by Elaine Pagels, a Princeton professor, called The Gnostic Gospels, talking about the history and how there have been, from the beginning of what would come to be known as a Christian era, these two main rivers of thought. One, the ecclesiastic institutional religion, in which the church is seen as the broker between someone's relationship with God, versus the esoteric, mystical, Gnostic traditions. And I think of A Course in Miracles as part of that tradition. It's talking about our inner relationship with God, our inner relationship with Christ, our inner relationship with Jesus, and Jesus himself seen as an evolutionary elder brother, as it were, an internal teacher who, through his own actualization on earth, has become one with God's connecting link with us, or the Holy Spirit. Once again, these are traditional Christian terms, but used in psychotherapeutic ways. And the role of Jesus, should someone ask, there's nothing here about it has to be Jesus, nothing like that. But if you feel in your heart attracted in some way, you want to know more about an internal relationship with him, that's the Jesus that the Course in Miracles is talking about.
Thank you. And I'm a huge fan of Elaine.
So I love how she's described it, and this is how I've wrapped it in my mind. It's what we're a part of, the human story, this history, this time of history. We're all a part of God's creation. And there's lots of records and traditions and interpretations of the history of mankind, but it all brings us to where we are now. What she was saying about the idea of Jesus is he was the example for us. He was the leader, the one to lead each of us to higher ways of thinking. He showed us that man, in its humility, in its form as we are, can unite with God. And it's easier than it sounds. It seems scary and profound, but God is the present. God is everything. The fears we live with every day, the anger, the resentment, the disappointment, those are our choices. And if we can change our way of thinking, practicing and growing gratitude, that's been my key. You grow in your gratitude until you feel good about just breathing. Right? And then once you've got that, you realize I got nothing to lose. So I may as well be kind, may as well be generous, may as well be fearless, as long as it's for the right reasons. And this is what I truly trust and believe. Oh, what she said too is Jesus is like the first one of us. And that's what he said as well. His prayer was that we unite with him as he united with the Father. And so we can each try to help fulfill his prayers. And I think that's God's will for us. So to know God, I think we've got to know ourselves. And if we know ourselves truly, this is where some of these videos are going to go. If we know ourselves truly, who we truly are is love, vessels of love, for love, to know love, to grow love, to become greater love than we ever were. Should we hop back in the video? She said, oh, the other part she pointed out too was the way the religions have actually created this, like a paywall, a firewall, a barrier between people and God. But if you invite Jesus, if you have faith in Jesus, then you can know for yourself that a personal relationship with God is what he was teaching. So my life was complicated. It still is. But my life became a lot more simple once I stopped getting in my head, once I started getting out of my head and into my heart. And so these lessons from like A Course of Miracles, and there's many people on YouTube and these platforms on social media. There's many people sharing wisdom. Wisdom heals our broken wounds. Wisdom heals our confusion and deception. Well, it's not just wisdom that heals. Here, let's jump back into him.
And Peggy goes, we're in talks right now. I'm going to try to get her on here. And
Well, that would be amazing.
The Gnostic text is pointing to enlightenment and illusion and teaching and versus sin and repentance in the Gnostic text. And I appreciate that. I'm not sure if you're aware of how she knew Jerry Garcia on here.
Is that how I'm blowing?
Because they grew up in, I think, Northern California. Actually,
anyone,
you could share a little bit more about the Gnostic.
Okay. Here's where she talks a little bit more about A Course in Miracles, and she explains some more of the philosophies of her book and what she's been teaching. Welcome, Nubs.
Hello, Jack. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling truly blessed. That's why I started up again tonight. Wanted to see how it would go.
Blessed is a good place to be. Always blessed. So I didn't come to bring controversy. I didn't bring discord. I have one question for you, and I think I figured out where we have our disconnect, if I'm right in my assessment of this question. My question is to you. You had spoke about love. What is the definition that you use for love? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's different definitions for different words. And I'm curious as to what you see as true, honest, integral love. I guess I defined a little bit of it in that, but nevertheless, you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm just literally, I'm curious because it would answer a lot of questions. And if I'm right, I'll probably end up leaving you alone completely. So it's a win-win.
You revealed a lot with that question. It's true, you do not understand love. And I've explained love many times, many different ways, and I've shown love, and you still don't seem to understand. But the definition.
Please help me, Jack.
Well, here, love, truth, and God. There's no separation. Love is God. Love leads me to the truth. The truth leads me to love. The truth leads me to know love. And the message from Jesus was love. And if Jesus was an ambassador, messenger for God, well, love is God. So what is God? God is everything. Does
Do you
that help?
think okay, I do have a follow-up question then with that explanation. Do you think that the definition given in Corinthians, where it says love is patient, love is kind, love is gentle, love is not self-loathing, love is not envious, and love never fails, do you think that would be obviously it's in the Bible right there? Love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. I had it incorrect. Do you see that, Jack? Thank you for correcting me. So I would say that would be the best definition as far as from a Christian perspective, seeing that it is right there in the Bible. And if that is not what we as human beings that say follow a quote unquote godly life, if that is not our
Hey,
definition,
Nub.
then we
Hey,
are in
Nub.
our own. See,
No.
now
Hey,
you're cutting
Nub.
me off. I came up for
Yes.
peace.
But you're being a
Yep.
douchebag. You're very passive aggressive and very manipulative. I'm very familiar with you and your type. So what Nubs just did there is typical of Christians. You didn't answer using the words of a book, so it's not right. While he completely ignored my actual answers, created a failure on me based on his imagined standards. Nubs, you're a clown.
I would say that that verse definitely defines love like in some of its terms, but I don't think it was the whole thing. Like love is so massive that there would have to be like 10,000 words to describe if we could encompass God's love all at once and actually have it, it would be a book long probably, like how to really describe it. But
There
we're
are,
human.
dude,
It's
there's
beyond
entire,
our understanding. It's a piece beyond
exactly.
understanding. Like my brain can't even explain it, but I know that I found it.
I'm the passive aggressive one, and I'm coming up with your scripture. Great stuff, Jack. You can't make this shit up. You really can't make this shit up. I
What are
gave you
you
the definition from
proving?
your book, and you gave me
Wrong.
your definition from your head.
So
From his
what do
heart.
you
Do you
think
follow
you
the book,
prove?
Jack, or do you follow your head? Because I
Hey,
would say you follow your head.
hey, numbnuts.
And now you're being aggressive. Doesn't it say, consider it all joy, my brethren, when facing various trials and tribulations? Is this not a trial?
He's now banned. He's uncooperative. He's defiant. He is of the devil. He is, carries the energies of darkness, and it's the prideful, arrogant. Goodbye, Nubs.
Who was another man to judge my soul?
Well, this is the
That's what I
crazy
would say.
part. This is the crazy part, Isaac. I'm not harming anyone. I'm not trying
Yeah.
to insult anyone. I'm not controlling anyone. I'm not doing anything wrong. So why these people? Why these people think it's appropriate to behave like that blows my mind. Because he actually showed exactly what I said. I said when he asked the question, it revealed a lot about him. He does not understand love. I've been dealing with him long enough. He's got the spirit of the ego, and the ego thinks control is love. well, those who think they control others, they don't control. Here, let's go back to pleasant conversations. Because seriously, besides the book definitions, I mean, the topic is here.
Gnostic
I think your
text
answer was
and the
perfect. on
Gnostic
what love
movement.
is.
What's that?
I think your answer on what love is like perfectly fine. Like you don't have to be able to write a 10-page paper in a
No,
second.
no,
You have it,
and
you
I
know it. You know it. Like,
right.
and it says,
And,
there's no greater love than to lay your life down for your friend or your brother or your sister. And I felt that before. I've saved a guy's life drowning and almost died myself. And no question in me was like, oh, I'm not gonna help save this guy. It'll come out when it needs to. It'll find a way. I don't need someone to like score me 1 out of 100 on my answer. I know I have it.
well, this is the thing. No one should be judging others, placing expectations and standards for others, because here, number 5 there, it does not dishonor others. Nubs is repeatedly on here for no reason other than to dishonor me. And I do not delight in evil. I rejoice with the truth. And I do protect. I stand for what is true. I stand for what's good. And I trust that aligns me with God. Hey, I love this. Love is the law of truth. Love is that which is revealing, that which moves us. It is love which is the light and miracle from God. Love is life.
Yeah. The government doesn't tell us all the truth, so makes me wonder.
Absolutely. Hey, she was just asked about the Gnostic interpretations, and it's not her field, but she addresses it beautifully.
Well, once again, I'm only, if I have any expertise, it would be about the Course in Miracles specifically. And the Course in Miracles is, as I said, has been referred to as a system of spiritual psychotherapy, a self-study program of spiritual psychotherapy. The idea here is that God is love, love is all that is, and that what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. That anything that is
God is love. Love is all there is. And that which is all encompassing can have no opposite. That which is all encompassing can have no opposite. See, and this is where I've been learning some of the deception is mankind has this belief that God is in a battle against the darkness. Hell no. God has no.
Darkness isn't a battle against itself.
Yep, it is. And people love the darkness.
Itself cannot stand. It's written.
That's those words that were written are absolutely true. Hey, blessings, are both. You're some of you guys I really do appreciate. Love in the past has been a battlefield, and maybe it always will be. It is a mystery. It is life, and life can be a battlefield, that's for sure. But here, sorry, I got distracted.
Me too.
Hey, Arpol, bless you for your support and contribution. I feel the membership is a way of sharing support for me, but unfortunately, I really don't offer much to the members. Not at this point, not yet. But thank you sincerely. This is what I've come to accept. God is greater than the good and evil it created. It's the truth. And here, back to the spiritual psychotherapy, the ideas from A Course in Miracles.
Not what is all encompassing. Love is all that is, and that what is all encompassing can have no opposite. That anything that is not love is a manifestation created by the human mind when the human mind has disconnected from love. But the Course in Miracles says what Buddha says, which is that which is not an expression of our love, not an expression of our unconditional love and compassion, is actually an illusion. Because the Course in Miracles says when you're not thinking with love, you're not actually thinking at all, since only love is real.
I love that. When you're not thinking with love, you're not thinking at all.
And it's an illusion. That's hella, like, sorry, not hella. That is super clear, actually, now, right now. For some reason, like, it makes sense because it's like all lying to yourself or lying for like a different purpose than what is true, than what is being said.
Yeah.
It's a trip.
Isn't it a trip? It's beautiful. I mean, some of these ideas are kind of profound, but if you open your mind to different ideas, man, freedom comes through love. Here.
Unconditional love and compassion is actually an illusion. Because the Course in Miracles says when you're not thinking with love, you're not actually thinking at all, since only love is real. So this entire three-dimensional reality, while it's real, obviously, within our mortal experience, that it is as a veil in front of a truer truth. And that truer truth is not registered or perceived by our physical senses, but it's known by the heart. So you could be fighting with someone, but you know you love each other. The words you're saying, the actions you're taking might express lovelessness, but your heart knows that the love is what's real between you. And the Course in Miracles refers to fear. The relationship of fear to love is the same as the relationship of darkness to light. Darkness isn't actually a thing, it's the absence of a thing. Darkness is simply what happens when there's no light. And that's why to get rid of the darkness, you don't hit it with a baseball bat, you turn on the light. So the Course in Miracles says you don't get rid of the fear. And all emotions that are not love stem from fear, anger, bitterness, victimization, all of that is fear. And the Course in Miracles says you don't get rid of that by simply analyzing it or hitting it away. You get rid of it by turning on the love, the forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, atonement for your mistakes, greater mercy and compassion towards those who made the mistakes, including yourself. So it's the relinquishment of a thought system based on fear, which is the real problem of the world, because we act from the pillars of that thought system, which is that we're separate rather than one, that guilt is real, that the life of the body is all there is. There are specific thought forms that form the pillar of the ego's or fear's thought system. The idea here is that we can dismantle that thought system with God's help and accept instead a thought system based on love. And
that's, you know, she might continue this, but what she's describing is when we are willing to sacrifice our old thought systems of limitations, of fear, of inadequacies and guilt. When we allow ourselves to sacrifice that old way of thinking for a renewed way of thinking committed on love, that's the resurrection. That's the baptism, the first death that we want to go through. You want to surrender your ego, kill it with joy, surrender the past, the fears, the limitations, the problems, because only love is real. Love is God. Only God is real. We're just temporary. Yeah, just a couple more minutes of her, I think, is my plan.
that's enlightenment. And then, then you hear that that we can dismantle that thought system with God's help and accept instead a thought system based on love. And that's enlightenment. And then, then you hear a term like salvation. Well, it sounds like such a Christian term, although actually in Judaism there is that term, salvation. Well, if you think about it, the only thing to be saved from is our own fear-based thinking. And it's one of the things the Course in Miracles says about itself, which becomes more and more real as you think about these things, is that it's very practical. It's very practical. I'm reading a book right now. It's a very, worldly book, political book, and it's talking about Russia and China and Iran and the United States and nuclear arms race and increased. It's just, what it could lead to is so insane for no other reason than that we fear each other.
Yep.
And, when Russians wake up in the morning, or Iranians wake up in the morning, or Chinese wake up in the morning, or Americans wake up in the morning, just the people, you don't wake up and think, wow, I hate the Iranian people. I hate the Chinese people. That's not where we live. But there are these structures that dominate the world that are at odds with who we are. And they are increasingly dangerous, not only to individuals, but obviously to our collective.
Yeah, thank you. Meister Eckhart was one of my favorites as well. When I had my awakening, I had a lot of mysticism come to me. It was weird. And I was getting so much.
You're talking about Meister Eckhart.
Yeah, Meister Eckhart, he said the mystics will understand, theologians will argue. And I'm paraphrasing him, but because I think when you have an awakening, you're more heart-centered, That's why I love when Jesus said, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. See God where? In all things. And all those labels start to fall, those false personas, and you're looking more through the lens of the heart versus that delusive ego. And at least that's my experience.
Oh, absolutely. And two things I want to say to that. Number one, the Course in Miracles defines light as understanding. The enlightened ones are those who understand. And it is an understanding that is not a...
Okay. I think that's what she was offering there at the end about her perceptions on these systems. Sincerely, these systems are corrupted. The government systems, economic systems, that's what she was pointing at. The war that's happening all around the world, it's based on thoughts. People believe that there's enemies. People believe that there's reasons to be afraid. Why? Because they don't have faith and they don't know love. They don't know God. And we live in a world where, by God's allowance, right, this perfect revelation of human development, this time of history, we are, as Jesus was, we are those who the Father sent into this world to be the light, to bring the light into the darkness, to lead those in the darkness into the light, because enlightenment is an understanding. We can understand each other. And the answers are here. They've always been there. And this is the thing I wonder, right? I went through my life, working my job, living my life, watching the news and politics, and I didn't know how much I did not know. I didn't know how corrupt the American history was, the economics and governments. I didn't realize God. I didn't realize how evil can be. And I learned all of these things at a very rapid rate. I've been blessed, but we are blessed. We are blessed with today. And today, where we live, brothers and sisters, again, my purpose of this stream, the second one we're having today, having some fun, my hope is to share and promote and discuss some important things. And the philosophy of love, it's transformative. It can just change your life. A different perspective can totally renew everything. And we live at a time with the technology where by God's creation, there's a lot of amazing men and women alive today who are sharing their wisdom, the wisdom they've been allowed to learn. And Marianne Williamson is one of those. I encourage in the description, please check out the links and the, what was his name? The Broader Lens, the other channel that was doing the interview.
I got a little something like to have the understanding that the world is broken and our minds are broken and that we've been lied to and attacked is also the same understanding that would allow me to lay my life down in front of someone that, you know, I don't even know. Like it says that God feared us from the fear of, or he freed us from the fear of death, which has held us in bondage our whole life. And he's like, yo, I understand these humans so much. I will lay my life down for them in hopes they would understand. As I surrender, as I only speak the truth, they want to kill me. That's pretty bold to me. Like he was enlightened beyond the, he's like, this will make a bigger ripple effect than me fighting back. This will make a bigger impact on people's lives to show, like, to lay down and like surrender to love. Like, I don't know. It's like, to me, it just connected. I've never really connected those two things as like the enlightenment part and the love part to laying your life down and why he would do it. It's like, it would make a deeper understanding than being vengeful. Like we can stop this mess of revenge. It's a cycle of revenge, the cycle of all the words I can't think of right now. But
Yeah.
that was pretty cool what she said.
Hey, and your connection there too. It's true. His faith makes sense when you see him as a truly enlightened one of divine mind. He was willing to sacrifice his future life, his entire life, faith in God. But see, this is God's story. Gave us a perfect example. History punished and, oh yeah, history punished and executed an innocent man. My oh yeah was I watched the news today. I don't remember the details, but apparently there's a man who's scheduled for lethal injection for capital punishment today in one of the states. And the prosecutor, the jurors, and his attorneys are all saying he's innocent. But earlier in the day, there were still activists trying to get attention so this innocent man could be pardoned because it appears to be an injustice. This world we live in, God gave us the example of righteousness. The example of leadership was through Jesus, not just him, but many others who followed his example. And what that means is what Isaac said, the willingness to lay myself down for others. If that's the path God leads me to, that's where I pray I have that strength to know. I have a feeling, brother, we are amongst the blessed. We are. How much we realize our blessings or how little we realize our blessings is up to each of us. We're each on our own path. But brother, here today, where I am sitting next to you, I've seen your spirit. You are a spirit man.
I forget that. Yeah. I believe it.
Hey, so I loaded up with Marianne Williamson, and then there was, I enjoy the conversations from this man, Shunya Murti. I've spoken about him a number of times before. So we've got Marianne Williamson. Her focus has been on A Course in Miracles, which is spiritual psychotherapy course and lessons based upon the teachings of Jesus. And then this man, well, the Sat Yoga Institute, I'm not sure, I don't know as much about them. Shunyamurti, he has such a depth of wisdom too and study. The things he understands and explains, he comes from more of an Eastern perspective, but tying it back, mystics are speaking the same language. And I lean towards the mystical ideas, the ideas of true spirituality, that we are children of God. We are aspects of the divine. And with that knowing, like in the back there, we can rest in God's love, trusting that God's love is true. And with resting in God's love, knowing that God's love is true, then we have nothing to fear. The reason I brought up Shunyamurti, this video came out earlier today, and I haven't watched it yet. The other ones I've seen, but I kind of wanted to watch this, so we'll check it out together. And here, let me do this.
Sweet.
Turn him up. All right.
So I think developing your spiritual resonance. One way is reading poems like this. If you resonate with them, they're tiny haikus, Sufi haikus, but you read one line and it can make you resonant with the God self. And then you stay in that as long as possible. When you start falling, you read the next poem and you go back until you can be established there. Or you read Abhinavagupta, or you read anyone. I find very helpful are the current commentators on Abhinavagupta, like Arindam Chakrabarti and Stanishvar Timalsana. You may know these two. I think I've shown videos from both of them, and there are many others. There are sages and scholars, academics, who have gone deeply enough that they are actually in resonance. There are, like William Chittick and others, are in resonance with Ibn Arabi, the great Sufi sage, and will come to the same resonance from a different pathway. Like Abhinavagupta studies the subjectivity objectively, whereas Ibn Arabi studies objectivity subjectively. And yet both of them reach that place of the non-duality of both. And so there are many great sages, which is why in a wisdom school, we recommend that people read and learn and take in the intelligence of people who are much wiser than we are and learn from them, and then emulate those capacities by opening your own mind to your own power to rethink whatever at any moment what you have, let's say, habitually decided, and you realize I'm following a pattern that no longer serves me. Maybe I don't really want to eat this pizza tonight. 10 years ago that would have been good. Maybe I won't digest it so well tonight, or something else, right? There's a way in which one is able to modify whatever habits no longer serve, including the habit of believing you are the ego character in the dream, rather than first the soul that's the interpreter of that dream and reinterpreting it through vimarsha, but then ultimately realize you are the dreamer of all of it, and you have never entered into the dream. And yet the dream is your own creation, your own reflection in the mirror of the light of consciousness that you have emanated. And the more that you enter into that wavelength, the more you will find yourself already a Jivan Mukta. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. The real problem with the ego today is this. When you get in resonance with someone who is, let's say, at a higher and more coherent level, suddenly the ego, out of insecurity, will become a mimetic rival of that person rather than someone who can emulate their virtues. And the rivalry will turn to envy and aggressivity and a sense of resistance to the very vibrational frequency that one was attracted to, and one will try to appropriate it, but it can't be appropriated at the ego level, only by releasing yourself from that level. And so that has to be something that you see and redecide about, because it's one of the core problems that the ego has in overcoming its resistance.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's good. I was kind of just tuned in. I didn't really get anything. I was more just locked in. Yeah.
A lot of the names, a lot of the authors and philosophies he mentions, I don't know a lot about, and a lot of the terms he uses, I'm not 100% clear. But where he was talking about, it's a change in philosophy, changing our philosophy. It's again similar to where Marianne Williamson, changing our philosophy from the fear-based to realize that everything is a projection and reflection from the divine. Hey, here's another man I love spending time with. Welcome back, Demolished Doctrine. How you doing, brother?
Peace and respect, brothers. How is everybody doing?
Feeling truly blessed. Tonight, the idea was YouTube and chill.
That's a funny play on society. I like it a lot. I wish the gentleman had spoken more about, or the audience had asked questions of that he might expound on something he said. I thought a little too briefly. Not that I think he wouldn't be able to answer this. It's just simply that no one asked. How do we know when what we are doing does not serve us well? And I would like to entertain. I mean, that's an important question, don't you think? I would entertain both your answers and give mine own.
How do we know when it is not serving us?
Well, let me expound on that a little bit.
Please. Yes.
Okay. If every day I walk the same streets to get to my same destination, and because the trees are taller, the buildings are taller than I am, I don't see like a bird's eye view. And I learned maybe in my youth this path to get to the grocery store, or what have you. I may never realize, because of my limited view, that I am taking an extra long route for no apparent reason. And I might not know it. I might not know it at all. So I have a comparative of one thing. Well, you can't compare one thing. For instance, if I said compare for me a nickel, you simply can't do it. It's a nonsense question. Okay? Because comparatives don't work that way. Comparatives need a contrast. You need two different things. So how would I know if I am taking the best path?
God, I love that question. Isaac, if you've got something, please go ahead.
My only thought would be, is if it only serves me, it probably isn't the right path.
I love that answer.
That is a shockingly good answer, sir.
And it just hit me. I won't say I live by that, but I will say I thought about it.
You thought about it, and perhaps you'll consider it more in the future.
Oh yeah, it hit me like a brick.
Good for you. What do you think, Jack?
My answer was, has to be honest reflection. We have to be honest with ourselves, but even when we're honest with ourselves, how do you know? And that is a great question that I've been asking myself, but I've been learning to trust the knower within and to trust that I am on my path. Now, what I've been incorporating more and more is love in my path, is love with me in my path.
I think that the ability to love or to be brave or to be happy are good indicators as to whether or not you're taking the best path.
Thank you. Was that, I don't remember if it was you or somewhere recently, I heard the pointer, the observation, happiness is a reflection to our relationship with the truth.
That was me.
Was that you? That is
Well,
so.
it could have been someone else as well. I mean, that came to me in prayer, and I just think it's. And once you say it, you look at it, and you go, "Yup, that's it."
Yep. Yep. And so then that goes back to some of the other things. Hey, regarding that question and this man too, there was another video he did. It's almost 6 minutes is all. And it's regarding freedom. And it was another one that I thought was a very interesting perspective. And I wonder if it would be in line with that question too.
Could I ask you to hold off on that until I think, until you think that this conversation's exhausted? Because I think there's more to flush out here.
Yes, please.
And yes,
right.
People, it's not flesh out; it's flush out. Sorry, I have pet peeves. I kind of laugh about them, but the idea is to send dogs into the shrubs to make the birds flee. That's what it means. Okay. So we're looking in shrubs for all the little birds. That's what flush something out means. So I think there's more little birds to be flushed.
Yes.
So okay. So if it's true that our alignment with the reality results in our best possible us, and that it's true that allows us things like happiness, bravery with each other, and I don't mean a contentious or a violent bravery. I mean the bravery to stand beside a man and let him come at you and not feel that you need to attack back, but instead can ask yourself the question, why is he troubled by this conversation when I know I'm being honest? That kind of bravery. And then that's a difficult it's a difficult thing to find a mourner and cry with them. It's a very difficult thing for us to give up ourselves and our ego and put ourselves truly in the position of the other person so that we can actually understand. And it's such a beautiful thing when we do. Okay, so we're looking at indicators like happiness, the extension of love, bravery, empathy, things like this manifest in our lives as an indicator that we're on the best possible path. And I think all that is true. I think all of that is very, very true. I find it in myself when I'm feeling contentious. It's because I'm thinking of something poorly and I'm not aligning to the truth. And that is what's actually causing the tension, is I don't align with truth. So what do you think of this statement? If you are unhappy, if you are unsafe, if you are unempathetic, if you are not loving, if you have shortcomings in any of those, and those kinds of related things, there might be a few more, then you're following something that is not true. What do you think?
Yeah.
For the most part. For the most part, yes. There are I'm trying to think of exceptions though, because there are times where love leads us through things that they're painful at the time, they may make no sense at the time. But I think generally though, you're absolutely right. It's and it comes down to inner awareness, being aware of what is our spirit, what is our conscience within us telling us. That's where I've been focusing myself.
That's a beautiful thing, Jack.
Well, this is what God allowed me to discover. Truly, we all have within us a spirit, a spiritual connection, and it's not understood by a mind, by those who live in the mind. And the world we were born into, it can, through trauma, repetition, patterns, people get hypnotized and they live in their mind. And this world doesn't know the difference. The majority of the world in the past has not known the difference.
You know, Jack, you said perhaps the transition is painful, and I agree with you. For me, the transition was extremely difficult, humbling, and painful. I didn't like anything about it. I tried to resist it with all that I had. You know, I did. I tried to fight it, thinking, no, you're already right. You don't need to change. But I wasn't happy, and I wasn't loving. It makes me wonder if I could say something like what you know, to put to poetry and paraphrase what you'd said. Perhaps that pain. Pain is a sensation of weakness leaving the body, as the Marines say. Maybe
There is truth.
that's a bit of truth.
There is
Maybe
some
that
truth.
emotional pain in transition is just our own resistance.
I trust in that. And
Interesting stuff.
and that which we resist will persist, but also the resistance we face, if it doesn't break us, it makes us stronger. But this resistance we all have to change, the feelings inside, they're real. I processed a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety in my growth and my change. And I tell you what, with every bad habit I've broken, I feel so much better. So many people were smarter than me. They didn't pick up as many dumb and unhealthy habits as I did. But I've learned the way to succeed. The way to succeed in life is intentionally, with your mind and heart, devote yourself to God. Humble yourself to the knowing that without God, I am nothing. With God, I can become a part of everything, because that's the truth.
You know,
We
the
are.
sad thing is in our society, we respect intellect and put it at such a high echelon in what we think of each other and ourselves. I have bad news for everyone. Smart ain't good enough. Smart ain't
You're
good
right.
enough. Smart will not get you where you need to. Smart won't get you there. I have a brother who is, I mean, he's NASA brilliant. Okay? He's MIT scholarship brilliant. No joke. All right? However, that brilliance only gets in his way when he chooses to use that to justify whatever he already thinks and stay in it, and is often and on many topics absolutely miserable. Is he living his best life using his intellect to stay miserable?
I did.
Tell me about it. I did.
Yeah. The pride and arrogance, particularly of those who find intelligence within them, smart people, Man, they are some of the biggest dicks. I've been that
Self-included.
role, right?
I've been
Yes,
that guy. I have.
yes, me too. But the other side of that is in this life experience, my life experience, God allowed me to be humbled. I've been humbled online.
What do you mean allowed? What does that word mean there?
Oh, it was through my surrender, my humility, losing everything that gave me strength, that gave me confidence. God allowed me to discover a strength that I didn't know that I had. The strength that comes from God. But I didn't know where to go for that. I didn't know how to find it, but
See,
my
that's what I mean.
surrender.
That's not an intellectual journey. That's a
No,
revelatory journey. It has to be revealed to us. We don't come to it.
right. Well, yes and no. Here's my hope and prayer, honestly. My life led me to live this life where there's a lot of lessons, but for the most part throughout my life, I've been on my own. I've been trying to find my way in this world, and I took myself through hell. But when I committed myself to God, started really doing the inner work and studying from others in the world,
Mm-hmm.
the way my life kind of happened over the last several years is I had time away from family, friends, work, all this stuff. So I had time to pray and meditate.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be looking at my life situation or things happening in the world or behaviors that I was experiencing and try to find the answers. And then I would feel this aha. I would have a revelation, a realization from within myself. And so I'd understand something new. And then within the next couple of days, God would show me a human being who already knew all this stuff. I didn't have to worry. I didn't even have to think about it. I didn't know where to look. So the point is I found my faith through ideas that I learned from other people, the spiritual psychotherapy, allowing the paradigms of your mind, allowing your beliefs to change. I'm an example of transformation.
So I think I must have said something poorly because everything in your description agreed with my brain and what I was already thinking. So yeah, something must have we must have had a I must have had a glitch right there or something. I don't know what happened.
I think we're on the same page.
Yeah,
We are.
so.
Hey, Isaac. It looks like Isaac dropped out.
He has on again, off again connection problems. If you're aware.
Okay. Yeah. We've got another guest in the back who just arrived. But I do kind of want to share this other video too about freedom because it gets into the mind of God. Some ideas that have given me some hope. Let's first, Stephen, welcome.
Hello, hello.
Hello, my friend. Have you been tuned into these?
No, I just tuned in now. I was watching Cat Williams get wrestled, and a child beat him 8 years ago.
Fascinating. What tonight has been is the YouTube and chill part, kind of sharing some videos of other people, words from other people, and my hope is to share what they're doing, and we can have discussions on spiritual ideas, and we've had some great conversations already, I think.
Do you share any of my videos? Hank shared a few earlier on another
Actually,
channel.
I've got a video set up for you. I was asked to play it. But here, before we jump into that, I want to play this. This is another discussion from Shunyamurti. And apparently these are like recordings from some of their in-person retreats and stuff. And like I said, I find inspiration from some of these ideas. Freedom is impossible, yet real.
First of all, what's important to understand is possibility is a concept, right? And what your ego considers to be possible is conditioned by what you have learned. And you will have learned that scientifically certain things are possible and others are not. You know, a certain kind of lizard can regrow a tail, but if you lose an arm, you're not going to regrow it. It's not possible, right? There are certain laws of nature. There are certain limitations of lifespan. There are certain conditions of apparent reality that are barriers to any kinds of action or events that go beyond or outside of the event horizon of the apparent rules of the game, whether it's laws of nature or psychology or metaphysics, whatever your belief system is, right? So once you understand that possibility itself is an artificial construct and that impossibility is simply unlimited freedom, that's what is really meant by that. But whose freedom is it? It's the freedom of the infinite consciousness that manifests as the cosmos. And that infinite consciousness is also the real I within you and within everyone. But when you are fully attuned to being the infinite consciousness, then what appears to you will be the manifestation of the freedom of that consciousness to manifest as truth and beauty from the level of God consciousness, in which the truth is all is possible, right? There are no limits to what God can manifest, right? And that makes the miraculous the norm, you see? And so then that level of being is completely free of any conceptual limitation on what possibility is. So it's not so much that you move from possibility to impossibility as both of those concepts, which are simply opposites, annihilate each other. And the real that is already inconceivable is what manifests as the dream of life that unfolds as the perfection of the consciousness of God that manifests through you, and as you will perceive in that state through every being, because everything is conscious, everything is alive, everything is filled with the freedom to manifest in unprecedented and unpredictable ways.
It's beautiful. Thank you. And so, what role does love play in this impossibility, in this, let's say, freedom? Now, not using the word impossibility, in realizing this infinite freedom of...
Well, it's God's love, and it's God's love of freedom and of manifesting the miraculous, because that is what will fulfill all of those who are seeking the proof of the reality of God, right? This is why the Gospels contain miracles. That's the proof that Jesus really was the Son of God, etc. And you have miracle stories in every tradition. Some of these stories are symbolic metaphors. Some are actual historic events. but the capacity for that kind of unfoldment of magic is the inherent latent potentiality of every consciousness that appears within the manifold. Everyone has that ability, but that freedom has atrophied because of a limited belief in what is possible. That's the impurity I was talking to you about. If you believe you are just a bodily character, then your possibilities are limited by the body. But you don't know what consciousness can actually achieve when it is freed from any limiting beliefs. And so it's the impurity of limiting beliefs that is the key to realizing your freedom. Okay? And then when you have cleared the field of all limitations on what could emerge in the dream field, then you have authorized that freedom to manifest in the form of absolute beauty.
Okay. Some deep thoughts and some kind of profound ideas, but it makes sense. It makes sense in line with the words from Jesus as well. What he was just talking about there regarding freedom is moving beyond the limits of possible into the impossible. And if you believe in Jesus, pointing to the Father of miracles. And miracles are available for those who see. I mean, life is a miracle we are all participating in each and every day, but the world taught us to have these limited beliefs on what is and is not possible. But with God, all things are possible. And that's what I've been saying too, is that on any given day, anything can happen. Because on every day we've been given, everything is happening. You guys have thoughts on him or other?
More of like an agreement that I almost brought it up earlier that once you employ or imply or whatever the word might be, God into your mind, it actually changes your possibilities in reality into a more open, beyond what you see with your eyes reality. Or
Yes.
you could think with your mind. Yeah. See with your heart.
See with the heart. That's the key. And actually, Marianne or the other guy said something about light and enlightenment. Light from God is the mind, it's the knowing. And that's actually a gift from love. So if you look at light and understanding, as you know, light reveals the information, the understanding within us, in our awareness, it gives us the information. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know if this is what wrong, but what I got was knowledge is in the mind and wisdom is in the heart.
Yes.
That's just what I got. I don't know if that's correct. I'm just thinking.
One of these talks, and I don't think I heard it tonight, but the observations on truth and beauty. That's really what love is love is the truth and beauty and the goodness. Dang it. Sorry, I bounced off where I was going with that. Oh, truth. Truth without love, knowledge without compassion, it results in, logic only. It results in the controlling, oppressive, divisive society that we've got today. The ideas of logical, using logic only without compassion, That's what the ego will do. That's what the limiting mind will do, the Antichrist, the devil within us. And it's the same thing as the corporations and governments. Logic and deception, manipulation, it's enabled the selfishness and greed of the billionaire class and all of this insanity. But it doesn't have to continue that way, because I'm confident that God is using us. When in the stories of Jesus, how did the miracles come to be? God used the creation, God used the people to reveal the miracles. That's what God does, man. And the impossible is real. What I'm convinced of, to be honest, only God is real. I'm not. This life we're living is only as real as our thoughts, as our feelings. And if we don't control our thoughts and our feelings, other people will use thoughts and feelings to control us.
Have you ever heard of John Keats, where he said, "Beauty is truth, truth, beauty"? He related truth with beauty, the poet, John Keats.
I don't know that I have heard that. Your audio is kind of it's got a tough connection, but John Keats, truth and beauty, beauty and truth. I had not heard that, but truth is beautiful. Finding, learning, discovering new things. What a joy we've been given. The gift of ignorance, where we don't know. Right? Our God is so amazing. All of the answers we need to know, they're either in our heart or they will be revealed to us based on some sort of perfect timing.
I have a question about the heart, though. How come it's always the heart that sees, not, let's say, kidneys that see, different organs, liver,
Well,
spleen?
I don't know if
Why
this
would
is connected, but I know the heart is directly connected to the pineal gland and it shares a heartbeat with it.
I've
Oh,
not heard
wait a
that.
second. The pineal gland has a heartbeat
Yeah,
inside of a.
every heartbeat makes your pineal gland have a heartbeat.
Oh, okay. Like if we could reach inside the skull, we could get a
I don't know
pulse
where I
from the
learned this. I
pineal
learned
gland.
this maybe a month and a half ago, so I don't
I never
know.
heard that
I
before.
heard it. I learned it from
Interesting.
someone else. I didn't come up with it.
Okay, that's
So
interesting,
I
man.
just want. I don't know if you know about any of that stuff. They showed like the X-ray thing when it would show the heartbeat during it, and it would kind of weird. I don't know, because like when God talks about the light of the eye or this like being single, I don't know if he's talking about all that, but to me, I've always thought he was also like metaphorically in other dimensions talking about the body, the mind, the spirit, the brain, the everything at once in the Bible. Because every time you read it, it seems to be new and match your evolution, like where you're going. It's always new. Like I don't know how to explain it, but
Hmm. Well, in the
Well, that's
Bible, it does talk about seeing with the one eye, right? So it could be the pineal
oh,
gland, two eyes into one. But
well,
go ahead, Chad. Sorry.
it is. Some of these things do tie together. I hadn't heard what you were describing about them finding the pulse within the gland, but there's more discoveries being made on how our body works, and the heart being the place of love. It ties back to what are the right words, to the ancient Hindu scriptures, the Vedic wisdom, or whatever it's called. It's regarding the chakras and these energy centers. We do have an energy body. And even the idea behind the chakras, the energy centers, if you look at some of the descriptions of those, what they are is just different perspectives of consciousness outwardly reviewing ourselves in relationship to the outward. Like the root chakra starts with your physical safety and such, and then as you move up, it gets into your social commitment and your dreams and aspirations. But it's when we move into the heart space, when we rise above the primitive nature, the five senses being trapped in the bodily desires, the heart, when we connect our heart and mind together, that's where we are balanced. That's where we are one and whole. And that's in line with the scripture too. The double-minded man, unstable in all ways, that can be brought up in many different perspectives and explanations, but there is a mind within us of our heart. Our heart of hearts guides our emotions. And within our, of course, our mind, we have another mind. But if those two don't unite, when we start making excuses for ourselves, oh, I can't do what is right because I got to go do this job, or I got to go do this, so I can't do that. When we make excuses and stuff, we're corrupting ourselves. I went on and on there, but thoughts?
I've heard it's like the balance of the moon and the sun, and the earth being like the pineal, and like the when he says you're double minded, you're either left or your right side brain, and like they're like two minds trying to fight against each other, one being like more feminine and one being masculine. And like they've depicted this through ancient paintings for thousands of years.
There's not only the balance between masculine and feminine energy or archetypes, there's also the double mind where we believe we are separate from each other, where we think that the separations and divisions between us and God, when we think those are real, we are unstable. We're not in line with love, because love is that which binds us.
And what sparked that was the double-minded, and then it says something about if you're double-minded, it's like waves, right, that are crashing on the shore or something like that. Am I wrong about? I forgot what it says.
I can't remember where you're referring to, honestly.
Because I remember reading of a version of the Bible that said a double-minded man is like something to do with waves clashing, and that would be the moon pulling and the sun like not in like harmony and creating those waves or something. I don't know. That's what made me think of it. Like the magnetism, the connection, the all of it.
There's powerful mysteries contained in life, contained in everything. The ideas, I'm not sure where you're talking about. What came to my mind when you brought that up was the clamoring of impure minds when we're not. I'm kind of guessing and rambling here. The one mind becoming
Yeah, I found the verse.
what'd you find?
So James 1:7-8. I don't know who's saying this. I could look it up, but this is what I'm getting off without the previous verse. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do.
Can you
So
read the
he
first part
compares,
again?
yeah.
Sorry.
But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. Like not in control of its own power, a higher power is in control of it.
Those who doubt will find fear. Those who find fear will be
True.
controlled.
It's like if you say I'm going to climb this mountain and halfway up you give up and you turn around, but the whole time you could have done it if you just believed. I don't know, similar kind of thing. Like you once believed, you got halfway and you believe, but now something's telling you to.
You froze up on my screen.
So like your
Yeah.
faith would be to follow out the whole thing. I'm just thinking off the top.
So
I have
if
no
you
idea what I'm
believe
talking
with
about.
doubt, that's the double mind, is believing with doubt.
Yes, I guess.
If you have doubt, but you have
Believing and then
belief
doubting,
in
I
time.
guess. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Interesting.
I get it now. I
That's a
think.
hard concept what you said, so I was mind boggled.
If we have faith in our doubts, the doubts
Yeah.
win.
Wow. That makes sense what you said. Same thing.
I'd like to
Makes more sense.
expound on that.
Please do.
I know I'm probably going to get pushback from someone who hasn't thought about it. If it's true that our singular mindset of limitation is what's keeping the miraculous out of our lives, once that mindset is gone, and the reality which does not include those limitations, is just the reality. It's not that the reality changed, it's that we changed and we accepted the reality as it actually is. And at that point, the miraculous do not appear miraculous. I'm sorry, but if you think it's miraculous, it's your limited mind. The miraculous is normal. You're what's in the way.
Yes. That's true. We get in our
I
own
got
way.
85%. Yeah.
You got 85% of what?
I got 85% of what he's saying. I don't know if he could top it off, maybe.
Okay, so I'm speaking from my personal experience. When I thought things were impossible, they did not happen. They did not happen because I would cut them off at the knees. I would look away. I would not be in the right place at the right time. I was in the way of me.
Yes.
When I became humbled and I saw that the problem was me, and I saw that I do not have the answers, and I need to seek answers outside of self, I need to seek God to understand these things, the miraculous became every day. The miraculous became the normal. So others look at it and they go, wow, Richard, you are describing a miracle. You are claiming a work of God. You are claiming this and that and the other. I said, no. You don't understand. This is normal. It's not that I'm making these things happen. It's that you're stopping them.
Now it's clear. Yeah.
So, if I'm to get this straight, are you saying that if I get out of the way, that I will experience miracles, but they won't be miraculous? It'll be normal. That will be the norm if I step out of the way.
Yes, that is what I'm saying. From others people's point of view, them still trapped in the falsehood that is limitation, they will see what's happening in your life and think of it as miraculous. It's not.
Okay, so from their perspective, looking in, they would see it as miraculous, but I think I'm starting to understand what you mean.
You're speaking of like cleansing the inner voice to being like not against you but for you, right?
Cleansing the inner voice to not be against you but be for you.
Well, that would certainly help.
Yes.
Yeah, but that must be, it has to go hand in hand with our inner thoughts lead us to every step we take on some level.
That's not true. I'll show you that's not true. What's my next sentence going to be?
Well, that's your thought that does it.
I'm just saying not everything's internal to you, brother.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but like to fix what I'm trying to say, maybe I said it wrong. To fix the you part that's in the way, it would have to be your inner voice. Like what else?
No, that's not true. Again, that's not true.
Maybe that's how
we
I
can
work.
learn
The only
from.
way The only way I move in my head is if I have the inner voice do something.
Oh, that's not true. What's 2 plus 2?
4.
Did you invent that?
No, but it told me in my head.
No,
arose
your
from
inner
within.
dialogue reminds you of what you know, and it can tell you a lot about who you are. You can be meditative and introspective and learn about self from self, because self knows self. But I would ask you, if you can know all things internally, is it a 2 or 3 flute tapped with a golf or 730 seconds when you're going for quarter 20 in aluminum?
Well, you just made up random words, right?
No. That was machinist talking. What I just said was a real machinist question.
Oh,
I don't know if I'm allowed
I
to,
didn't
but-
make that up.
okay. I don't know. From what I got, that's what I got. I'm not trying to be right or anything. I just thought you were talking
No.
about the inner voice. That's why I'm trying to clarify.
What
No,
I'm
maybe I
saying
can help.
is we learn from outside. Other than introspect, we learn from outside in all cases.
Right, but
Yeah, but
what
your inner voice has to
what
tell
is
you
it?
something, right? Like
What
how else are
Isaac-
you doing?
I think I understand what Isaac is saying. It's the inner voice, which will often talk us out of learning from others.
I got a little bit of weed.
Which I think is what you were saying earlier, is for us to get out of the way. Because I used to find a lot of excuses not to learn, not to change, not to grow, not to know. But
Not to rhyme, not to flow. Sometimes you just hide that sick flow you got. You know?
well, the truth is poetic.
Right? Exactly. It just comes out. Bars just happen in the moment. You could only do it once, but people love it, right?
I had a dream one time where there was me, but there was also another me in the dream, and the me was blocking my path. And I said, "Get out of the way." And the other me that was blocking me didn't get out of the way, so I body checked the me that was in the way, like playing hockey. I gave him a shoulder check out of the way, and I went and kept going. And I took that to mean that I was maybe standing in my own way.
Very
Oh, you got a
The only question I
bruise.
would have for you, Stephen, is
What was
which of the
that?
yous
A
do you
little
want to?
arm tattoo?
Which of the
It just
yous do
seemed
you want to
relevant.
be?
I don't know.
Well, what was it? I didn't see it though.
Me and
He's
my
got a
friend were
bruise
just
on his
seeing how
shoulder
hard-
like he body checked somebody.
Me and
Oh,
my
somebody
friend-
somebody
yeah.
punched you? Oh,
It
yeah,
seemed
the
like
bruise.
synchronicity. Speaking to him, like
Oh.
seemed like synchronicity. Because me and my friend were punching each other to see how hard we could hit each other.
Yeah, we used to do
Excuse
that
me,
shit in
but-
like middle school and high school to be like, who's stronger?
Hey,
It was just
Knuckles,
fun, man.
quarters.
hold on.
Wow, this conversation's really devolving.
Right. Ham Banana,
Yes.
please, not just trying to have just random off the wall conversations.
I'm sorry.
okay?
No, I'll be quiet. I'll just try to
I
chime in
think
when you guys
Richard
are
wanted
talking
to
about things.
respond to the.
He was trying,
I
if you
think-
remember your thought, Richard.
I do. Actually, I remember all my thoughts that I've been saving up for the last several minutes, and I would love to share them.
Please.
For Stephen, I would ask the question, which in the dream is the actual you, and how would you know? And as to the video that we watched, if we see others as outside of self, and we learn from others outside of self, other than knowledge of self, fine, you can get that in meditation. But other than that, everything that we've learned from exterior sources that had more experience. That's what learning is. So when a person has this perception of pride, also lack, they will block themselves in ego. And I think one of the greatest problems we have, one of the greatest problems I had, was that my ego was so powerful and such a large part of my own identity that it took a very big body check to get my ego out of my own way. And actually, I could not perform that body check. It had to be performed from external.
So what did you do to get your ego out of your own way? What did you change? What was your ego doing originally that you had to change to correct the ego? Because that would help us all in a way, if you could tell us.
Sure. Actually, what I said was it was beyond my capacity. I had to get body checked from somebody else on the ego thing.
So how did you
And
correct it though?
I didn't correct it. It got corrected
But
from outside,
you
and I accepted the correction.
but how did they correct it then? Fine, since you're going with semantics, how did they correct it for you then? What was the change?
It's not
they
a
gave
semantics, just that I didn't do it, and you kept insisting that I did it. I did not.
you? Yeah, that's semantics. I literally mean like how
What
did it
happened?
change? Yeah, what happened to make the change? Or Jack, can you deal with this, please?
Well, I think that is the question: is what were
I'm trying
the
to answer it.
what was the experience? You said that you received correction
happy
from the
to.
outside. Please.
Yeah, happy to answer that. Yeah. Okay. So I had communication with someone that I'm aware is not me, and they gave me information that was so valuable and useful and true in reality that when I tested it, even though I believed it was not true, I found that it was true and highly valuable. And that changed my mind about my ability to assess and know things.
Will you share that information with us so we can all ascend to this level of consciousness that you're at?
I'd love to. I'm not sure you'll like it.
All right, go ahead. I mean, I feel like this is important if we want to get through this. Go ahead and tell us real quick. If you could get it done in like 2 minutes, I mean, I feel like Jack's not gonna put up with this for long.
Hold on, please.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
This is the shit I do. I'm sorry, Jack. I'll just be quiet. This is the shit I do. I just come in and I fucking railroad things. That's my bad. I'm drinking. My bad. I'll be quiet. I'll be quiet.
You do have that tendency, although the question, I see the value in the question.
I do too, yeah.
For myself, similarly, I kept getting feedback that I was angry. I'm a fucking lovable guy. I mean, anger is like a small part of me, but I had to accept, hey, Jack, you got some anger issues. It's like right there at the surface. I've been working on those myself, trying to deal with my anger. Was it something like that for you, or are you willing?
Oh, I'm absolutely willing. In a 3-minute or less elevator pitch, I was shown that the intention of the authorship of these ancient stories is to reveal to an intended reader, not anyone else, although people may get things from it here and there, that they were describing themselves and their great technology. But of course, they understood that us not able to understand that kind of technology and being generally superstitious, we're going to turn these things into superstitions that we today call religions.
I feel like we got a good question here, which would be like, what great book are you talking about? That like
all of them.
That
all of them.
They defined a technology that we couldn't, like.
Yes, in these stories, they were defining their technology, so that when we got to where we could understand that, we would accept that it's about technology, not about supernatural
when like God like vaporized some kids or whatever because they like tried to wash his feet, which happened in the Bible. They like
no, it didn't.
That, like it did.
You're putting two different stories together, sir.
It was somebody vaporized them. It might have been an angel then.
Okay, the vaporization.
Here we
the
go.
Vaporization
ruin my story and make it.
I'm sorry, he's just misquoting something that I think is important. Should I not have tried to fix that, Jack? I'm sorry.
No, I understood. I feel like the conversations were kind of getting away with Hand Banana, and he admitted he's drinking. It's his personality. He hasn't quite, we haven't quite understood each other yet. The back to the idea though, you were blessed. You had an experience where outside information said, "Hey, buddy, look at this about yourself," and you were wise enough not to dismiss it. You saw the value in the feedback the world offered you, and you allowed it to change.
Oh, I wish, Jack. The first thing I did was set out to disprove it, knowing it was wrong. I just knew it was wrong. Because,
Well,
ego.
That's another thing. Our ego, and what you said too, pride and lack. That's the symptoms of our ego. The ego will go back and forth between the victim and perpetrator, perpetrator, attacking and defending, and that's just, it's insanity.
It's really not what happiness is or love is about. It's not it.
It's not. And the truest gift, I got one more video here, just a few minutes that I kind of want to share. It's similar lines to our conversations. It's about the technology of faith, the technology of our mind and emotions. I'd like to share a couple more minutes of this, but I also don't want to dismiss what we've got with you guys here. Here, let's play just a few minutes. This is, I've talked about this man a number of times as well. This is John St. Julian. And again, these links are in the video description. But there's a few minutes of this I wanted to play too. Another of his recent ones. What's it say? Children of God, it's time.
In the most unlikely of places within our human story, the principalities of darkness, the interdimensional, satanic, demonic beings, sentient life that has a home in this dimension and another, have infiltrated and polluted some of the most beautiful elements of the human story. And forgive the crude analogy, but it takes 99% nutrition and 1% poison to poison a rodent. And it is not that we are rodents by any measure. However, you can feed the human mind with a lot of nutrition, so long as there is that 1% poison that will serve your benefit. The nutrition does not matter. Protecting the whereabouts of the 1% poison is all that matters to the fallen, to the satanic. In among there, we have one of the greatest secret of Christianity, the greatest secret of Yeshua, of Jesus Christ. And in positions of extreme power, in religious institutions, organized religion, within secret societies around the world, and at the highest levels of government, the truth of mankind's power in Christ is being hidden. And above all things, I perceive this to be the greatest secret never told. This situation that we are living within has a root of the evil that we are engaging in and that we are falling victim to. And the root of that evil comes forward when we understand the difference between human beings who identify with thought and human beings that are animated by the Christ. The two are completely different. Now, if you have been touched by the presence of the living God, of Christ, and you are aware that in your surrender, spontaneous suggestion, spontaneous revelation from the Creator comes. And there we must follow blindly in faith when we know that it is the Creator. We must, in faith, go the way that it tells us.
Yes.
This position is one of freedom, where our Christic powers begin to be born and solidify with the vessel that we are. When those human beings among us that have that experience come back from the presence of the Christ, the living God, and tell others about it, we build stories, we build symbology. And when we build those stories and that symbology, and other humans come along and fill their mind with those symbols and those stories and those ideas, even if it's filled with the terms Christ and all of the imagery and symbology and all of the teaching, if that human organism is identifying with those thoughts about the living God is not able to animate that human. You are still enslaved to the entrapment of identification with thought, even if it's the paraphernalia and the buzz of religious terminology or spiritual terminology. Identification with thought, in short, is the trap of the fallen nature. God so guides the humble, and nothing can describe humility better in the life of this human organism, as far as I've seen, than a human who before all creation is lovingly aware of it, does not pertain and try to explain it and say that it has control of it and understands it, but is lovingly aware. And in that loving awareness, a lightness comes over the vessel, and there the living God can move within you. And there, as the living God takes over the life, as Christ takes over, for you have died, the identification of self and thought and memory has surpassed, the self has died and Christ is born. There it is.
Here, that's the key. We want the self to die and the Christ to be born. And the message he's really clear about there is we can be animated by thoughts, or we can be moved by the Christ. And the Christ is that still silent voice within us. Isaac, were you trying to jump in, man? I didn't mean to. Okay. I have from logic, reasoning, meditation, prayer, these words are powerfully and true. There's universal truths that can be explained in many different ways. But we are blessed to be who we are, because when we escape the traps of the mind, and this ties us back to earlier conversations too, possibilities are limited by what we know. What we've learned is where we find that line between what is possible and impossible. But if we realize the limitations on what we know, we can expand in ourselves the idea of what is possible. And Stephen, with the questions you were asking, I kind of understood where it was coming from. Myself, I'm actually kind of opposite of what Richard was saying from the way I understood what he said, because I thought too, I devote myself to God, God's going to show, there will be results. People will want what I've found for myself, but that hasn't happened yet. So far, the results of my life has caused people to push me away. But this is why I'm convinced, brothers and sisters, there's a reason we are all here, gathered here, September 24th on this live stream. God's doing some amazing things. We've got a true See where it goes. What is true about Mr. Snafu tonight?
Listen up, you fucktards. October 1st, the East.
You don't need to come in here with profanities and disrespect. So apparently October 1st, Snafu's got something. But I don't know. Hey, someone did ask that other man I was talking about. It's John St. Julian. I tell you what, he has, by his testimony, at least by his testimony and the things he shares, that man has devoted himself. He has found himself devoted to and on a path with God. He shares his testimonies of periods of fasting, periods of prayer. He's encountered things in his meditations and prayers. And where he's at, I mean, this man, he started an orphanage for disabled children in Tanzania. He does videos online talking about the love of Christ. And I tell you what, if there's examples of what Christ is about, it's people who are saving children, right? Who are sharing wisdom. So again, these links, these people are in the description. I do encourage others, explore what can be learned, because we learn a new idea. We learn just the right explanation that pushes our mind through a past paradigm. We start allowing ideas of the impossible into our lives. And guess what? As children of God, miracles are our birthrights. That was one of the messages of Christ. It's one of the things he showed. And there are miracles happening in this world through faith, miraculous healings, miraculous transformations. Life is a miracle that's happening. We don't want to miss out on the chance to appreciate what is happening.
That's a good point, Jack. I agree with you on that, actually, about how we don't want to miss out. And I wouldn't call it a miracle, but I was just listening, watching the show, and thinking about, I used to watch that guy years ago at St. Julian channel. And I remember him. I remember the orphan children, disabled children, and all that he's done. And I was snacking on some fried chicken. It wasn't a miracle, but I would call it a spiritual experience. I mean, the chicken was that good. It was really good to listen to the show and have this chicken. It was delicious. So I am grateful for tonight, what I'm experiencing, what I'm hearing, not just the chicken, but here on the show. It's like a spiritual experience. Have you ever had that before, where a couple of things come together at one time and it feels really good, but it's more than feeling good. It's a spiritual type of thing.
Sure. It's life.
Oh,
Life
Richard asked me before if how I would know in the dream which one was me. I can't assume to know. The dream that I had where there was two me's, one was me.
One does get in your way. The selfish one. That's the one that's within each of us. There's a selfish one within each of us. It's self-centered, uncaring, it's corrupted. That is the one that will find excuses for poor behavior. It's the one that'll find blame to justify poor behavior. And it's the one we all want to surrender. Because the selfish part of us, the self-centered part, that's what diminishes the light that's within us. There is a light of God that's within us. It's the Christ, the pure, loving awareness that is here in the present. Actually, that goes back to what John was talking about. The eternally present, loving awareness is the Christic. It's only our thoughts, our labels, our judgment, our fears, our hate. It's our thoughts that corrupt our loving awareness. And a loving awareness, the Christ loving awareness, the awareness of God, it's without condition. It's filled with grace. It's filled with joy. It's filled with surprise and beauty. It's all the good things in life. The pure shall see God. Where do you see God? You see God in everything. That's when you realize all you are is a dream of life created by our Father. Holy cows, man. Hey, congratulations to you, Angry Rooster. 15 days sober. Salute. A lot of gratitude today. That's your key, my friend. Hope I never forget my last drink. I see now how God works in my life today. Please keep that focus. Keep that focus and keep building that 15 days into a new beginning. And hope to never forget that last. I never wanted to forget how miserable I was, because it was motivation for me to keep grasping for better health, better freedom, more time and distance from me. And that last drink, man, the confidence grows, and that lot of gratitude, pow, that's your key to success. Key to success is gratitude. Why? Because only the humble will be grateful. And if we can't be grateful here in God's kingdom, this world that's been created and given to us for us, if we can't be grateful, we're missing out on our purpose.
Congratulations to Rooster for being sober 15 days. Well done. That is something to celebrate or be grateful for. I've been sober now for 3 days, and I know it's not 15 days, but I'm working on it. 3 days if you don't count cocaine, weed, and some other stuff. But alcohol, I've quit for at least 3 solid. I do dabble in other things sometimes, but I don't know if that counts. Does that count sober?
Oh man.
Well,
I don't know.
I say it does not count, but you know, I'm not one to judge. The facts are what
sober
reveal
is
the
good start. Yeah.
Well, the patterns of drinking and drugs, they're tools for escape. You don't want to escape what you love. You want to unite with what you love. So this was my life. I didn't love life, so I tried to escape through entertainment, gambling, prostitutes, dating, whatever, right? Drinking. I sinned by choice because I was lost. I had
I
no
didn't know you had
purpose.
prostitutes. Was that
Oh,
part of the past, or?
I brought that up. I don't know why I brought that up, to be honest. But yes, it was a topic earlier today I heard discussed. So, yes, in my past, I objectified women. I'm an example. I trust that I trust God is preparing all of us for the future. I feel prepared for anything because I'm aligned with everything. I'm aligned with everything good from now on because what I chose for myself, what Jack wants, doesn't really matter. So I may as well want everything I have because everything I have can be gone. And if I just stay humble, I stay grateful. And as long as I stay grateful and humble, guess what? I've got everything to give. And
Yeah.
when we've got everything to give and nothing to lose, that's where life begins.
Did you ever pray for days like where I grew up, there were snow days, and I would pray for the school or the buses to be closed to get the day off school the next day because I never wanted to go to school. And sometimes it would work. There'd be a blizzard or a snowstorm. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's real? Do you think God would answer those prayers and intervene? Or do you know what I mean? Do you think it would be possible to create a blizzard and cause the bus to be canceled?
All things
I
are
could give an
possible,
opinion
I
on
guess.
that.
Please.
Stephen, when Christians or a lot of religious people actually pray for things, they're acting as if there's something wrong with the present plan of God. So they're asking for him to change his mind and make an intervention. You could say it like that, right? But if the idea here was that everyone lived in truth and harmony and love, and that there was no suffering, and that life was easy and perfect, well, if that was the desire of God, we would be in heaven. We wouldn't be here. That's a description of heaven. So instead, there's a true dichotomy, a difference between heaven and earth. Suffering here is allowed for. You could even say responsible. God is responsible. You could say intended, something like that. But part of our journey is to rise above that pain and suffering and see the beauty and love in it and prosper each other anyway and prosper ourselves. And that's rising above the earth. But the intention of the earth is suffering. That's I could quote some Buddha to you.
You think the intention here of this realm is suffering then? That we're intended or we're supposed to suffer here?
Yes, we are supposed to suffer here, and it works. We do.
Because I know we do suffer, but I'm just saying you believe we're supposed to suffer here.
Yes.
School for me
I would
was
think
suffering, man. I
more.
hated school.
I would
I
think
never
more
wanted to go.
at a certain point you're supposed to go through it, but not eternally. I don't
Not
think.
Yes, it's
eternally?
Yeah, that's where I would kind of make the difference, in my opinion. But it just made me think of it like
Isaac,
like
what
at
about
a
in the
time you go
Bible?
through it to
Some
learn
of
is
the
what I mean. To learn.
Isaac, what about in the Bible? Some of those guys that lived 600 years, 900 years.
Yeah, didn't God like change our DNA and stuff so we wouldn't live as long because it was
Well,
like
what I'm
really hard to
asking
live
is
that long?
they'd suffer way longer than we do. Is my point. If their lifespan was that long, how long do you think we should suffer here to get the
something
lesson?
about 80,
I think
maybe
suffering
100
is a
years.
choice because Buddhist teachings is that suffering is a choice.
Okay. Well, that's a different view. Less suffering.
Yeah, we
You
can
suffer until
rise
you choose
above the
love.
suffering. I'm sorry, Jack. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I could never get out of going to school though, and I suffered every day that I went to school. I hated it.
Your mindset made you suffer.
So did the teachers. They were
Your
terrible.
opinion of
Your environment, maybe things
Well,
we
they
can't
were
control.
abusive though. They
Yeah.
hit us. They hit the kids, and
Yes.
they were really terrible, abusive people.
there is suffering, but suffering is a catalyst for growth. It's a catalyst for movement. Suffering does not have to be prolonged. And I think, like Richard said, we can rise above the suffering. And suffering is part of the world. The flesh will cause us to suffer. Where Marianne started her first talk, where she was pointing out the ego's whole function, while it has the illusion of keeping us safe, it is actually there to destroy us.
Would addictions be part of that suffering? Like, I'm not speaking about anyone else but my own. Would that be part of the flesh, like the addictions to cocaine or different things like that? 'Cause
Absolutely.
there were times that I prayed to God for more cocaine and I never got any. Like, I ran out and then I was just jonesing for more lines and I couldn't get any for days. And that kind of thing is hell because you're wanting to feel better and desperate, right? And that's
If
part of the
you don't mind me
addiction.
saying so, Stephen,
Go
I believe the
Yeah.
plan is perfect and the amount of suffering is perfect. And yes, I do mean all suffering, no matter how hard it is all perfect. But that doesn't mean that God would grant a person knowledge on where to get more cocaine so they can suffer more. It's sufficient suffering. We don't need more.
Yeah, but in the heat of the moment or in the throes of addiction, you don't think this way. You're just wanting
Of course.
to feel better,
Right.
right? So,
And this is where God's grace really comes in. God will allow us to fulfill our corrupting desires, and at the same time, God will only allow us to receive that which we need. So, by God's grace, it appears your prayers of more drugs were not answered.
at that
So
moment,
Maybe they were
I got to be
answered.
honest. I just wanted a big bag of cocaine and a big set of tits to snort
I
it
know.
off of. I didn't want.
think that's important.
That was important to me
Yeah,
at the
I
time
mean,
as much as.
well,
Go ahead. Sorry.
Stephen, we get the concept. But if a person prayed for help, they may not get the help they wanted, but more the help they needed.
Something.
That's my testimony. The things I asked for were not received, but the things I received have answered prayers I never thought to ask for. I've received answers to questions I didn't know to ask, and I've received a newfound joy in life that I guess it doesn't come through real clear, but I feel pretty happy knowing that so far I appear to be aligned with the truth because I trust the truth that was spoken by Jesus about love being the answer, forgiveness, mercy, compassion, faith, all of those good things.
Can I just ask something though? Because did you three guys ever pray for something that wasn't necessarily right or good for you, but at the moment you wanted something like that? Like in your whole life, did you ever pray to God to get something, whether it's cocaine or the different things that you might have been into, that wasn't necessarily something good looking back to pray for? Did you never do that in your whole life?
Absolutely. I've mentioned
Okay.
I prayed often to die.
I meant praying for something good, not something like that. Like to
That
get a
would
day
have
off.
been good. I prayed to escape this fucking world. That was my prayer. I tried drinking myself to death. It seemed pretty logical. I didn't take good care of my health. Somehow this damn body, man, just keeps on ticking. And that's when I realized my life and death, that's out of my fucking choice. So if I'm going to live, well, that means, well, whether I have faith in God or not, God must have faith in me. I'm still here. Same with all of you. So if God's got faith in us, what is the faith that God would want from us if God is real?
Were you praying for God to kill you, though? Like, I don't understand why you'd pray for that.
Well, I prayed, if there is a God, please let me not
Like
awake.
to end suffering. You know, like if you're suffering in a very intense situation every single day, every hour in your mind, sometimes you want it to end, but that's not the answer.
But why not pray for the end of suffering rather than pray to
If the
die then? That's a different thing, right?
Well,
I
why
didn't
not?
see
Why not pray for the end of coke addiction instead of praying for coke?
There we
I
go.
should have done that. I made a mistake. That's why I was getting at. I don't think anyone's perfect, so I was like
As,
trying to ask if
That's what Jack's
you
saying.
guys,
Yeah,
Jack
totally
and you were saying
normal.
the same
as
thing.
did I.
Thing.
because I did want more cocaine. I didn't want to end the addiction at that point.
Right, right.
So
That's all you knew.
Same with me.
I
I
wanted
didn't.
Mount Everest to cocaine at that point. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to snort just huge
That shouldn't even
amounts.
be
You know.
funny, but it was.
I'm sorry.
Because I get it. That's why. Like, I'm
So where are
But
you at today, Stephen? You're asking about
No, I'm
prayer.
sober 3 days for drinking, and then I did do some cocaine earlier, a little bit, like not just a
Yeah,
bump, but not a lot.
yeah. I'm seeing that you're still pretty inauthentic.
No, I'm not inauthentic. I'm just a little bit high.
Should I play the video of Stephen showing his true nature?
My true nature. Was I naked?
I don't think that's what he means, Stephen.
Well, that's natural. True nature. I'm
Yes,
confused. I
nakedness
did a
is
little bit of
also
cocaine.
natural.
I did something else other than cocaine. I did a couple things
Yeah,
earlier, but I gotta go.
Stephen,
Sorry?
what I'm talking about your true nature is your patterns of duplicity, arrogance, manipulation, self-centeredness, selfishness, the same stuff I've addressed with you before. I mean, I keep giving you a chance and you want to play along like you're asking questions. So I was asking, where are you at now? You're asking about prayer and you keep looping back to your drug use, which is clearly a pattern of thinking. So I'm assuming you've never dealt with a pattern of thinking that causes you to use intoxicants like cocaine and others. So where's your mind at now?
It's on this conversation. I'm just trying to listen.
I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. I want to trust people are honest. But I see so many signs of people claiming they understand, wanting to be a part of this and saying they're listening, yet I don't think it's being received. I don't think it's coming through. Because, well, the future will reveal. Right now, I only have my own perspective to go off of regarding the facts of what I'm doing and what I've been doing. But I suspect, as I said, God has been preparing all of us for a greater future.
Could I, Jack?
And please.
Stephen, if and Jack, if I say something amiss, you would correct me, I trust. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Jack sees an intelligence and a potential in you. And Jack maintains a hope for you that someday something in your brain, a switch is going to flip and you're going to go, wait a minute, this is actually valuable and I should stop making jokes about it. However, you've made so many jokes so many times that it is easily perceived as this is only jokes to you. So Jack is asking for you to throw him a bone. Give him something to encourage him that he is not wasting airtime, other people's time, his own time, and mine to have this conversation with you. Just throw him a bone.
Thank you. Stephen? I feel Richard very well said.
I mean, it's a little direct and it's a bit harsh, but I think it makes the point.
You read it very well. And Stephen, you're welcome to offer feedback. You're invited to offer feedback. Because otherwise the appearance continues that you're here not listening.
No, I'm listening. I'm listening, but I'm trying to take it all in and comprehend and might say digest what's being said, so I don't jump to any conclusions or quick judgments.
I can respect
it may be that I'm a fool. It may be that I'm a fool, and it may be that I'm wrong.
I have not said that.
Let me finish the idea before you tell me whether or not it's right or wrong.
Okay.
I might be mistaken, but I think today is the first time I've interacted with you, and I got the sense that you were, although kidding around a little bit here and there, had a genuine interest in the conversation. Now, for me, that's a bone. That's throwing me a bone. Now, it might be my imagination, but I am perceiving that in you today, Stephen.
Hey, actually, I want to offer respect because I think your first assessment was spot on, Richard. And I would ask, actually, Stephen, I hope you will consider some of these and please reflect. But we're a couple of half hours in already. Maybe it's time to wrap up again. I think it might be a decent time to slide through. What do you think?
I think it's your show, and I think I am humbled, and it's a privilege to be able to come on here and talk about my experience and things that have brought me to contentment and happiness and acceptance and love of others. And I want for everyone to enjoy that in their lives, because I promise, I know this sounds like a hollow promise to some of you. If you're outside defeating the miracles, you can't see it. And it looks miraculous to you, almost impossible to you. But I promise you, the truth of the matter is that miracles are normal.
Yes.
And you can have a life of miracles.
Richard, you know that Demolished Doctrine, a wonderful place for other conversations. Please check him out. Give him a subscribe. I'm going to wrap up. Sincerely, thank you, my brother. Thank you. Stephen, you still there? I'll even give you the last words before me. Actually, I'm going to go ahead. Trust. Stephen, thank you. Thank you for joining. I feel like Richard said that today there was some more authenticity. And brothers and sisters, those who tuned in to the second round of Talcott Tuesday with me, I hope you enjoyed some of it. If you tuned in a little bit late, what we covered, in the video description is a few people that I have interest in. And so if you resonate with some of the things I'm sharing, please check out these other people. They far more experienced in communicating and teaching than I am. But humility, we're all children of God here in this one lifetime, this one time of history, and we all get to play a part. What the part turns out to be, we really don't know. But what I do know, what Richard was sharing from his experience, what I found in my own testimony, what is shown and repeated throughout history is the individual relationship that each of us have with the infinite. It's important. Because if we don't have a relationship, a healthy relationship with the giver of truth, the creator of time, the creator of life, if we don't have a healthy relationship with love, with the truth, with life, we live in misery. And that is my personal testimony, especially from the past. I've been through misery, and I want to help others avoid any misery they can avoid. It starts with give yourself permission, change your mindset. I'm telling you, opening your mind to God, to greater truth, to greater love, allowing your spirit, yourself and body to settle into the spiritual nature of life, realizing that life, what this is, it's an adventure created for you, by you, with you, for the world to experience and share. Brothers and sisters, thank you again for tuning in, sharing time with me. Check out the other creators, and we'll see what the future brings. Choose love, peace for everyone, and live without fear. Peace and blessings to us all.